Hello and welcome to this edition of the Halcyon Show. My name is Lorne Wisey and I'm going to be a host for this episode. There's going to be a point where I can't do that protractedly anymore, so we'll just stick to... There you go, I think that's cool. Anyway, on this edition of the Halcyon Show, we're going to be taking a look at a game called Bad Business, a game that answers the question I know that a lot of people out there want to know, which is, what exactly did happen to B-Rabbit at the end of 8 Mile once he'd won the rap battle and he was walking down the road?
Peace out, Rabbit!
Well, it turns out that what happened, as a matter of fact, was that he took a bunch of LSD, got really into the Bioshock motif and started hanging out with John Wick on a semi-regular basis because apparently Bunny Rabbit, or Mr. Bunny Rabbit, is a serial assassin slash hitman who's been tasked to take out the entire criminal underworld if this game is to be believed.
That's very unlikely.
And right from the beginning of this review, I need to make it clear, I had a love-hate relationship with this game for as long as I can remember starting to play it. The thing I would advise anyone playing this game, initially at least, is you need to bear with it and you need to pay close attention to the little nuances that make this game unique. It's just a question of whether or not they'll make it good for you, because for a long time while I was playing this game, the answer was a big fat no. I was ready to crap all over this game as a result. However, having given the game time, having gotten used to its certain characteristics, its quirks, its qualms, its issues, and persisted with it, I can report that this is actually a really fun game with tons of content, good design, albeit with a few rough edges that I'm sure a patch or two wouldn't fix within a couple of weeks or months, depending on how intrinsic they are to the game's mechanics. But we'll get to that in a second. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here. What are we missing from this situation? What are we missing from this scenario?
Well, we're waiting.
Oh yes, I made notes. Of course I did. How dare you for thinking I wouldn't? So, let's go into the business, shall we? Bad Business. Bad Business is an extremely challenging top-down tactical shooter game where Mr. Bunny Rabbit, a hitman for the mob, has been tasked to neutralize the rival gang. A hard task for any organization, an impossible task for a hitman. The release date is the 24th of July 2019, so it's been out for a couple of weeks. The developer is Hut 90 Inc., same with the publisher. The defined tags of the game are indie, action, strategy, casual, stealth, 3D. The game is currently priced at 99 pence, or it would be $1 and a bit in America. Complete 20 extremely challenging levels. Be the best hitman in the world by completing every level as quickly as possible and becoming #1 on the leaderboards. Complete all challenges on every level to earn gold coins to unlock new weapons. Design and create your own levels using the Bad Business level editor and share your creations with others online via the Steam Workshop. Yep, to a large degree I agree with that. There's a lot to like about this game on the face of it. The design of the game is quirky. There's a stark contrast between the orange background and the white and the blacks. It's got a cartoony motif, a lot of black outlines with very basic shading, cell shading, but it's actually a very striking game to look at. In terms of the story, I've read you it. What you want more? You want substance to this character? You want nuance? You want a path from start to finish that this premise sets up for you? No, don't be silly, don't be ridiculous. There's kind of nothing. The challenges kind of speak for themselves. They exist within their own self-contained spheres, if you will. The idea of the game is basically to traverse from challenge to challenge to challenge and eliminate any enemies that are on that level. Be it 1, 2, 10, 20, 30 of them. There's levels on this game that will make you, and I promise you, wonder just how hard it would be to peel the face from your skull if you pulled hard enough, because you really do think sometimes that this game is so frustrating that that would be a preferable avenue to pursue as a gameplay experience. So let's get the stuff that I didn't like out of the way nice and quickly. The chief among which is the controls and some of the nuances of the game that just don't seem to work for me. So let's talk about the controls. It's an interesting dynamic. So instead of having maneuverability in the sense of directional buttons or directional control, and it being a 2D or an inherently 3D format, it kind of amalgamates the two. You use the mouse to control the direction that you're aiming, and you use the pad to control which direction that you're moving. The quirk with this game is that you're stationary whenever you shoot. Again, being an assassin, the only way that you can kill people in this game isn't by melee attacks, you have to physically shoot them. So you begin every single level with a gun of some description. You'll then make your way through the level trying to kill people, which doesn't sound terrible at all, but nevertheless, when you do so, you have to click the right button in order to fixate yourself and take aim. The further away an opponent is, the more the reticule will widen, the closer they are, the shorter it will be. Couple of problems with this right from the bat. It means that the game is this awkward cat and mouse experience of you hoping that the enemies don't turn around before you get a chance to get your shot off. The reason for this is because the controls are not anywhere near as responsive as they need to be. You want proof? Apart from the gameplay footage that I've supplied, even in the game's trailer, the developer is getting murdered on a pretty consistent basis, not necessarily because of a lack of skill or a lack of timing or a lack of inherent nuanced approach to the game. It's simply because the AI is so dead-eye and just never misses ever. And your control scheme is so clunky. Pressing the shoot button, it's the same as with Cosmo Chaser to a certain degree. It will fire, and once you get the rounds off, suddenly you can't stop shooting the goddamn gun. But in this case, it just feels like it lacks a little bit. The timing is, you've almost got to catch them with their back turned all the time. You don't really have an opportunity to face them and shoot, because by the time that they've seen you and you can get your first shot off, they all carry shotguns. So one blast, and you're dead. And trust me when I say you are going to die a lot in this game. So the deaths where you feel like you got the jump, you were in position, you had them in your sights, you fired the shot, and yet somehow you're the one that ends up dead on the floor. It's one of the most frustrating things about the experience. The other frustrating thing about this game is the doors. So the maps are laid out in a certain formation at the beginning of each level. One of the good things is that the level design is actually reasonably intriguing. We'll come to the level creator in a little bit, but the level designs on this game all have a similar feel, but a unique feel to them nonetheless, because the rooms can be enclosed, they can have windows which you can shoot through, they can have glass panels which you can see from one room to another. You can line up shots, you can figure out pathways and things of that nature. The one fault with this system that I found are the doors. Now, the doors in this game serve to offer you cover to a certain extent and allow you the opportunity to get the jump on your enemies, assuming that they're moving, or if they're facing the door, for you to decide when you want to bust in and pop a cap in someone's ass. The problem with this is that the doors seem to operate on a very weird logic of meaning that sometimes you can get the door open to a certain degree and yet you can't fire past it because you're literally, the door is in your way. So your only thing at that point is to move past the door. The door doesn't then provide you with any cover, so you can't spring out and shoot, launch a quick attack. The door then flips out on you. Let's say for the sake of argument they see you before you see them, but you get a chance to back off. But like, okay, don't worry, he saw me but he didn't shoot me. You get to the door and then the enemy will push up against the door, it will flip out, and then suddenly the enemy will go, huh, he's gone. Oh well, I'm sure he's not going to come back. It's the darndest thing. The AI in this game as well deserves a mention because, again, it's either hyper-vigilant and hyper-aware and picks you off from a million feet away with a goddamn shotgun with surgical precision, or they are the dumbest gits in the world, to the point where you sometimes have to utilize the stupidity of the AI to your advantage in order to beat a level. There were certain levels I got to that I just could not complete tactically. They just weren't possible. The only way to beat those levels was to exploit the inherent faults in the game, i.e. the door. To go, right, I'm just going to try and, there's two guys in the room, I'll pick one of them off, know that the other guy can't come through the door because I'm just going to stand there like this and all the door's going to do is this until he gets bored and walks off. Or Sometimes you'll leave them outside. They'll turn a corner, they'll look around and they'll go, huh, I guess that guy, that psychopath in a bunny mask walking into a mob controlled room with a gun and having killed a bunch of my friends has gone. I'm gonna go back. And then the final one is that you have a silenced weapon that you begin the game with. The game seems to decide when this motif works or not. So sometimes you'll walk in with a shotgun or an assault rifle, which was my preferred weapon of choice. You unload on everything in the room, yet in the next room over, apparently they have soundproofing that would be sufficient for Eminem recording the soundtrack to 8 Mile because they can't hear a thing. And yet, other times, you'll walk into a room, shoot, and someone will inexplicably hear you from somewhere randomly on the map, pop up behind you, shoot you off screen. Again, the accuracy is something that is so annoying with this game. And finally, occasionally, the enemies can just go wander. Sometimes when they follow you outside of the sort of pre-built map, they'll just go for a wander. They'll just wander off into the distance. You'll forget where they are, or you won't know where they are. You'll kill everyone on a level, and then you'll go, I don't know what I'm doing now. What? Okay, so you go outside, and then what happens? And you're dead. So you might think, as I did at this point, that there's not a lot of reason to play this game because the mechanics fight you, the controls are clunky, the AI seems to have an unnatural advantage against you, and it's not exactly the most unique concept in the world, considering all it really does is take top-down shooters and make it harder because you can't move when you shoot. Well, yes, but that's only in the initial stages once you get used to how the controls are meant to function. You've also got a focus mechanic, you've also got a roll mechanic. The roll mechanic I didn't find as useful as the focus. The focus is basically what I pontificate in previous games that just need that little bit of extra incentive for the gamer to have a go, so I'm going to slow things down for you. Now, it's not infinite, you can only use it for a certain period of time, and it does take a fair amount to replenish. The other downside to using that and indeed taking any damage is because every single level has a timer, because you're supposed to complete the level in the fastest time possible, how much damage you took, and if you used your focus. Now, if you want to earn weapons in this game to make the levels harder, which you can only purchase by earning these coins that you get for completing a level without using any focus, taking any damage, or doing it in a certain time, then you do need to think logically and critically with this game, to the point where you need to literally think outside the box. I was tempted, like I'm sure most people were, to just constantly barrel through the front door of every single level and just start shooting, or at least to the point where you think about the first enemy, and then the next, and then the next, and then there's going to be certain enemies that you have to really sit there and think about, like, how do I get to this guy? Until I realized, wait a minute, I can shoot through windows. The level has windows on the outside. What if I just walk outside and see if I can pick anyone up from the outside? And suddenly a whole new avenue opened to me. The true essence of what a stealth game is, which is utilizing everything you have at your disposal, which is the element of surprise. So very few stealth games encourage this kind of thought process, which is, how do I make the fact that they don't know I'm coming my advantage and their disadvantage? And this game allows you to do that. You can go around the entirety of the compound, you can eliminate enemies through windows, you can attract them outside and lay traps for them, lay wait, spring them, and just mow them down. The AI does not pick up on other dead bodies, so it doesn't get suspicious, or it doesn't kind of alter its pattern of behavior, so you can manipulate this to your will. And that's why the best advice I can give you when playing this game is never to confront these enemies directly, as it sometimes does in the trailer. Do not mistake, this game is so much less action than it is stealth and tactical. You need to think about what weapons you're going to be taking into the level, you're going to need to think about how you're going to approach each level, and you're going to have to make peace with your fact that this game is going to kill you a lot. So you're going to require a degree of practice, patience, execution, good aiming, and good timing to not only contend with the inherent difficulty of the game, but also to contend with those bugs and glitches that make the game just that much harder. Unfortunately, there's no tutorial with this game, albeit I will give this game one massive kudos, which is that you can remap a fair amount of the buttons. If you don't want to use the directional pad, if you don't want to use the buttons that it's already pre-mapped, you can remap this. You can also use a controller if you want to. I don't know how that affects the gameplay because I used a mouse and keyboard, and I can report that it's tricky because some guns have a wide spread. The accuracy of the weapons is very difficult to judge unless you're at close quarters. So picking off enemies from a distance, you can only really do with a sniper rifle. With the assault rifle, I found I had a bit more distance, but only in short bursts. And again, with the trigger being inconsistent, it wasn't the most reliable weapon to rely upon at a distance. I can say that the weapons in this game are varied. They all have different characteristics. They all feel slightly different. You do need to ration your bullets because you can't pick up additional ones unless there's a gun within the level, which you can find. Usually there'll be at least 2 or 3 weapons scattered across the level that you'll be able to pick up, and also you're going to need to take that into account when you're traversing the level, because the chances are you are going to run out of bullets, especially in the middle and later levels. So you can't feasibly expect to take everyone out with the gun that you start with. Therefore, not only are you going to have to think of a way to take out each enemy sequentially, but you're also going to have to think about this in terms of where your weapon pickups are going to be, because there's no health replenishment on this game. If you get shot, you don't die necessarily instantaneously, as I may have alluded to earlier. You can take some damage and live to tell the tale. The problem is that more often than not, you're not going to be able to. So you need to be precise, you need to be coordinated, and you do need to have a feel of the map before you go in, and you also need to be cognizant of the fact that because you can rotate the entire map 3-dimensionally, you can go in any direction to manipulate the map to look for gaps, look for exploits in the map. Then you can navigate this game. It's not impossible. Just some of the levels will require a bit more attention and patience than perhaps other levels do. I will say that the way that the levels are constructed in tandem with the rewards that you get mean that this game genuinely feels challenging but rewarding at the same time. Often games get the balance wrong. They make it too challenging without enough reward, or they make the awards too abundant for them to really mean anything. The guns that you earn in this game are only earned as a result of your skill and execution in fulfilling certain criteria. The easiest 2 to complete are no damage and no focus. I am nowhere near the level of some of the people that have played this game. Some people have I can only imagine they've replayed challenges with better guns, because I can't understand how they've managed to accrue some of the times that they have. But that's another incentive of this game. The leaderboards are everywhere. The challenges are set by the people that play the game, which means that so long as you have a ever increasing skill set with this game and you manage to manipulate it and understand it more and more, and once you get to the later levels and you've unlocked most of the weapons that you can then use to approach the map however you wish, I feel like everybody has a reasonable chance of getting close, but some of these scores are insane. But I can't lie and say, even though not attaining the top score and getting that 3rd gold coin and perfecting the level, so to speak, the competitive element is always there. It doesn't rub it in your face so much as other games, but every single level, the time is right at the bottom. It's always ticking. The soundtrack, which is great, by the way. I actually really like the soundtrack and the sound cues. It's all tense and almost die-hardish in the first instance, but then as soon as the first bullet goes, the violins hit and suddenly it's frantic gunplay style music. It's great. And with that timer, it always adds this element of pressure. And that's, I think, why I didn't get to grips with the game in the first place, because I felt very pressured playing this game. It wasn't an easy experience to digest. But again, with more time, I really liked how this game played out. I really enjoyed how it tested me, how it rewarded me for being more inventive with my attacks, with being persistent, with figuring out the patterns of the enemies. Even though the AI can be inconsistent, that actually works to the game's favor in some instances, because they won't always take the same walk paths, they won't always move. Sometimes they'll just stand there, so you will need to take a chance. And this game does encourage that risk. It punishes it by the same token, but you can't say that. I've never played the same level twice in the same way. I've always tried to approach it the same way, but I've always been forced to react in some form or fashion, which gives this game, despite its cartoony demeanor, an edge of realism that I wasn't expecting. And just to bring things to a close here, I'm just going to have to refer to my notes here because I'm not a mind reader. I can't remember everything I write. It's just too good. The orange motif is nice. The presentation is very good. The soundtrack does its jobs. The guns sound impactful. The cartoony design I like the design of the bad business hitman, whatever his name may be. Or her. It might be a hit woman. You never know because it's a bunny mask. You can't tell. The animations are smooth. The controls could be a damn sight sharper. Same with the AI. But those are the complaints that I've already registered. The look and feel of the game is very, very good. It feels like a quality product, which Brings me back to that price point, 99p? Pound, a dollar something? This is a lot of content for that kind of money, because not only do you have the challenges, you have the level designer, and the level designer is excellent. It's really good, it's really easy to use, and it means that Perpetually has more levels to play. So even if you can't attain the level of the challenges that are preset by the developer, you could always make your own, so that only you know how to complete it, and making it unbelievably hard for anyone else too. Muhahaha. But that means potentially this has the same kind of gameplay limitations as something like Dash, because that basically hinged itself on the exact same premise, albeit that was much more polished and it had fewer bugs and glitches and was less infuriating. I can't lie and say that this game doesn't feel as rewarding, but for a much cheaper price. So in summary, this game infuriates me, but I got a lot of respect for it. And while it will take some time to get used to, the amount of content that's on offer here is ridiculous, considering that that level creator potentially opens the door for perpetual play. Those challenges you can always get sharper and better at. And more to the point, anyone looking for a genuine test of skill is going to find it in this game. Anyone looking for an action style run and gun game, I probably wouldn't recommend this one too, because it's what I thought I was getting into. But the more you try and run and gun, the more the game will punish you for your insolence and trying to think that it's going to be so easy to complete. You need to be tactical and astute with this game, and it rewards that kind of play style. So long as you know that's what you're getting when you come into this game, as opposed to some of the gameplay footage that I've seen where it's all running and gunning, it really isn't. This game, while it is going to time you and push you and demand you and test you, patience is key. And so long as you can make peace with that, this is a great little game, and I would completely recommend you pick it up considering that price point. Even with the bugs and glitches, those are the sort of things that you can patch out, I would imagine. They wouldn't take that long. In terms of introducing maybe more dynamicism for another installment or for future updates, I'd just change some of the enemies, make some of them more quick, give them different designs, give them different guns, give them different demeanors, give the player a bit more information from the enemies in terms of what they're going to do next. Maybe instead of just an exclamation mark, give them quizzical marks if they're not sure where you are but they know you're there, or like a ... if they don't know you're there at all. Just give the player a bit more feedback, and I think that the game overall will feel more fair, because that's one criticism I will have at this game, is that sometimes it does feel unfair. It feels like sometimes I died and it wasn't my fault, and I hate that. But the game allows you the tools to compensate for that, so long as you're smart enough. So it's easy to recommend from a perspective of it being good value for money, but from a gameplay perspective, again, if you're looking for an action game, I would not recommend this game. But if you're looking for a great, well-rounded experience despite a few flaws, then Bad Business really is good business. That was a really forced pun, and I apologize for it. You're all now dumber having heard that. Oh well. You're watching my show, so you must be smart enough to get by in life at least, so I wouldn't worry too much.
Oh, this is awkward.
So, Bad Business, what do you think? Again, I didn't hear anything from the developer on this game, so it's difficult for me to give you background or context into the design of the game and how it came together. I apologise for that. Hopefully going forward more devs will be forthcoming. Unfortunately, the next review I'm doing, they've not been forthcoming either. Maybe it's something I said, or maybe they're just intimidated by my chiseled, godlike good looks. Probably that latter one. I also said, because I referenced it twice, that I would end, according to this, on a rap. So, here it goes. Yes, my reviews. I've got bars. I will leave you psychologically and emotionally scarred. I'm going to hit you as hard as I do on a volleyball on a beach. Palmed. See, now you laugh, but really you know that's hot fire. In any event, thank you very much for watching this edition of The Halcyon Show. Please like, share and subscribe, and check out some of the other content creators in the description below. They'd all appreciate a watch, and considering a video that I posted the other day. We all need that little bit of encouragement, so I can't tell you how much I'd appreciate if you would just find 5 minutes of your time to just check out one of those videos, give them a share, give them a like, including mine. I'm not saying you don't like mine all of a sudden, I'm just saying go check them out too. Also, anyone wants to chat about the fact that I'm wearing a t-shirt instead of a suit, it's hot, god damn it. I've got to be comfortable when I'm filming these damn things. It's hot, the lights and the pressure and the emperor and yeah. Okay, I'm hot, okay? Long story short, I'm hot. Maybe next week the suit will return, but for now we're still on branding point, and that's all that matters. So thank you very much once again for watching. My name's been Lorne Risley. Follow me on Twitter. I've been the host. Yada yada yada. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of the Halcyon Show.